Stan, we're live.
And another great thanks to Larry the Liberty Guy. Welcome back to In the Dugout with Mike Stenhouse. I am your host, and it is baseball season. It is a beautiful day. I'm sure players somewhere around this country in the dugout. I'm not watching though. I'm still on my Major League Baseball boycott since opening day. I'm tempted. I don't know. What do you think? Give me some I need some comments from you guys. Should I stand on my principle and keep boycotting, or how long has it been? When was opening day? A month? Are we 3 weeks?
A couple of weeks.
3 weeks into the season. I don't know, but I haven't watched an inning since the seventh inning of opening day when they, on Good Friday of all days, when they told us that baseball was boycotting, and I haven't watched an inning of Red Sox or any Major League Baseball since. I have to admit, I saw a few replays on Sports Center, so I'm not going to get that crazy about it. Okay. But anyway, I'm not sure. I need your help. I love baseball. I need baseball, but I'm so ticked off at this foolishness, these crucifixions of the truth and these false narratives that are dominating our life. Anyway, and one of those false narratives is symbolic of today. Today is first of a 3-day, not by us, but a 3-day celebration of Earth Day. You know, we love the earth. We love a clean environment. We want to be good stewards of the earth, but we do not accept the far left Marxist prescriptions to battle carbon emissions that the left puts forth. So we're going to talk more about that because our center had a media release on that today with a open letter to Governor McKee. And in just a few moments, we're going to bring on our guest for the first half hour today, former Valley Breeze owner and publisher, Tom Ward, one of the great journalists in our state. They still consider him a journalist because he's coming on our show, right? He's not a retired, he's still a journalist. He's just doing it for free now on our show. And tomorrow, then I'll do some bloviations later in the half hour, later in the hour. Tomorrow we got two big guests. First half hour, former state Senate candidate Charles Callanan, who has done some very interesting research on what it might cost some of the reps and senators who voted for the Act on Climate, Rhode Island's Green New Energy Bill, and what it might cost you because of that law. In the bottom half of the hour, we're going to have a very interesting discussion. I'm not even sure how I feel about this one, but we're going to talk to nationally renowned Stanley Kurtz. Stanley is, was he a Newsmax guy? I'm not sure. Larry Liberty Guy, you can tell me, but he's on all the big news stations. And we're going to talk about a bill that passed the House. It's ostensibly to ensure that there's civics as education, but it has a component to it. And it's largely sponsored by Republicans, but it has a component to it that has a lot of conservatives, including our own Justin Katz and including Stanley Kurtz. It has a lot of conservatives really concerned. So we'll hear about those current concerns tomorrow, and then we'll see how you feel about it. So, you would think that mandating civics education is a good thing, but we're going to hear a spin on that. I haven't read his article yet. I'll be well versed on it by tomorrow.
National Review, Stan. National Review. That's right. Stanley Kurtz, National Review. He's always on a lot of the other national talk shows. But this guy is a big time guy who wrote a column about this bill in Rhode Island. So we're going to examine that and have a discussion with him. And then maybe later on, we'll have the bill sponsors on to give a defense if there's a defense needed to be given of it. And then Thursday, of course, in the bottom half hour, we'll have Dr. Andrew Boston to talk about all things COVID, the weekly Thursday COVID press conference, and where we go from there. Boy, I tell you what, emotions are running high. Wait till you hear on this show what we show you is happening in Canada. In fact, we'll probably talk about that with our guest, Tom Ward. So let's bring on, without any further delay, Tom Ward. Tom, welcome back to In the Dugout.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, so since it's baseball season and I'm boycotting Major League Baseball, I'm going to wear my Pawtucket Red Sox hat, which of course was right in the direct purview of your Blackstone Valley Breeze newspaper. You covered the Paw Sox a lot. What do you have for us today?
Well, my hat today is in honor of my third and youngest daughter, Kristen. The head is Marquette University, which I got when she was there about 8 or 9 years ago. She's she's getting married Sunday. So we're to her gentleman from the South, Connor Kane, and so she's getting married, and so I'll wear a
Congratulations.
Marquette
Sunday, you said?
on Sunday. Yes, it would have been a
Congratulations.
Saturday. It would have been Saturday like every other wedding, but COVID messed everything up, so it's Sunday.
Okay. Well, Godspeed to your daughter, your family, and the groom. Marquette. Now, my niece from my first marriage is also getting married this summer, or just got married, and she also went to Marquette. I wonder if they happen to know. I know it's a big school.
It's been a few years. Well, I don't know how many years ago she went. She went. My daughter was there. She's not a big sports fan, and the quick story on her is she was there when Marquette and Buzz Williams had a really good team, and they had a 3-year run of Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Sweet 16.
Oh yeah.
The first year, Sweet 16, she didn't know any as they were moving up in the things. I said, Kristen, you are the luckiest girl. You have no idea you're going to be on a campus of a Sweet 16 campus if they win this week. And she was just poo-pooing it. And then it happened. And she was like, oh my God, Dad, what is going on here? I said, yeah, you enjoy it because it may be the only time you ever get it. Well, she got it 3 years in a row and she totally got into it. And so she was lucky. She was there at the right time.
Well, good luck and congratulations. All right, look, I see some of the comments in our YouTube watchers today, so let's go right to them. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about it today, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but let me ask you this about the Chauvin trial out there in Minneapolis. During last summer's initial riots, I know the media doesn't like to use that term, but they were riots, and they're still ongoing in many places, in Minneapolis and in other places. We had a little bit of problem here at Providence, 1 or 2 nights bad, and then there was rumors of more unrest. I remember Garden City was, the police and helicopters flying around and nothing. I went out for a walk one day and there's helicopters all over the place. That was the night that something was supposed to happen. Well, nothing happened. And I think, I don't know, at least unless the news has been burying it, I think for the rest of the summer, Providence was fairly quiet. But so why, if there are going to be, whatever the verdict is, if there are going to be protests again, I mean, they're going to protest no matter what. That's how these people are. They don't really know what they're protesting for. They just want to go out and loot things and look for some excuse to do that. Why do you think Providence has been largely spared? Why would you say so?
Well, I'd just be guessing. I know there were protests. They were peaceful. The time they tried to block 95. I mean, they weren't exactly completely peaceful. They try to do things, but they have a bit more power here. So maybe you remember when Governor Romano got caught with her mask off, and so there were things were going on here in Rhode Island, but not nearly as bad as other cities. But as you said, there was that 1 or 2 days where there was a threat because my old hometown of Woonsocket was boarded up on Main Street, and I said, I went down it and my heart broke. I was just I said, in my 67 years, I've never seen Main Street boarded up, and I'd just never seen anything like it. And just the fact that threat forced business people to spend all that money to board up windows just because they were afraid of the left.
Now, the Valley Breeze, Providence technically was not in your valley, right? Or was it?
No, we didn't cover Providence.
All right. So you had Pawtucket, Central Falls, right?
We didn't cover Central Falls either. We covered Pawtucket and North Providence. That's about as far south.
Would there be and again, I'm geographically challenged I spent a lot of time, of course, playing and broadcasting for the Pawtucket Red Sox in Pawtucket. Very little time, I have to admit, North Providence. It's in between like 95 and 295, and I never seem to get in the middle there. But is there a inner city area to Pawtucket in North Providence?
Pawtucket does have some area, if right down from North Providence. If you take Mineral Spring Avenue into Pawtucket, it gets a little lower income in those areas. And then there's another area.
But is there a crime problem, like we, or the kind of, would you, let me ask it this way. Would you expect, like we saw a little bit in Providence, to ever happen in a Pawtucket or in a North Providence?
I would expect
North
some
Providence?
protests and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily expect some craziness, but there have been protests in Pawtucket, and there is a minority community there.
And Woonsocket has a minority community.
Woonsocket has a minority community, but they're generally pretty quiet. I mean, there's a very small African American community in Woonsocket also. They are actually quite well respected, though. It all centers around St. James Baptist Church. They're generally well respected in Woonsocket, and they have good leadership. And so, but there's always going to be some noise from some people.
Okay. All right. So today is Earth
But
Day.
I should say this, that when I talked about Woonsocket being boarded up, the threat was from outsiders. It was not from people in Woonsocket. It was from outsiders.
Okay. All right. Today is Earth Day. Before we get into what our center did today, what does Earth Day, pro and con, mean to you?
Well, to me, it means the grass is too long to do my yellow bag day, which is why I have it a couple of weeks earlier. Listen, I think it's never a bad thing to take a day or whatever, and just, it started out as pretty basics, litter cleanup and things like that. That's what Earth Day was. You'd pull the tires out of the Blackstone
Clean
River.
Up the beach, clean up the streets.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that, and I support that. I'm not even sure. I haven't paid that much attention the past few years. I don't know if it has devolved into a climate crisis type of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But what are you supposed to do? Put bazooka bubble gum in people's tailpipes? I mean, what are you supposed to be doing about it? I mean, so if it's all just about getting people to know more about stuff, well, then it's all just part of the propaganda campaign. But that's going on 24 hours.
You're right. It seems like every day is Earth Day to the religious zealots of the climate change church.
Exactly.
Right? Every day is. But anyway, so it is a 3-day event this year. So we decided to get ahead of the curve. We don't know what the left's planning. They already passed the Act on Climate bill. We know the TCI gas tax bill is coming. So we were just guessing that they would release the legislation during the today, tomorrow, Thursday, Earth Day celebration. So we decided to hold off on publishing our coalition letter until today. So at least we'd have a story in the news in case they did that. So we did do that today. And let me share my screen and show everybody what I'm talking about. So if you go to our homepage, rifreedom.org, right at the top, here's our Earth Day no TCI gas tax letter. Here's our media release. Here's a button you can sign to say no TCI gas tax. You can sign a petition. And here's the actual coalition letter, which was signed by a pretty broad array of advocacy and citizens groups. And I'll go through this letter later on, Tom, after you leave. But I just wanted to bring it up. So it's a 2-page letter, authored by us and the National Federation of Independent Business, also signed by these other 10 local and regional groups. But we're basically calling on Governor McKee to withdraw Rhode Island from the TCI Memorandum of Understanding, which would create a cap and trade system on gasoline. Your thoughts on the TCI gas tax?
Well, like I said, not to be inconsistent, because people see me as inconsistent with what I talked about last week. But as I said, the TCI gas tax is an immediate punishment. The Climate Act that they did, I think, is going to unwind over a lot of time. I think it's going to get a lot more pushback than conservatives fear right now. But the TCI tax is immediate and painful. And I think, and it comes, by the way, on top of a 50-cent rise in gas just in the price of gasoline in the last 6 months.
Yeah, because of the Biden administration's policies, right?
Well, no, because the economy is getting stronger and people are moving about again, and so it's not. I'm sorry to disagree. It's not about pipelines. It's about Americans getting back to work and driving more, and now there's more flights in the air, so the price is going back up to a more normal
probably a
level.
factor too.
I
It
think
was
it's
it was
both.
an it was an
I think it's both.
abnormal level for a while with the pandemic. But anyway, 30 cents a gallon is painful to everybody. And as I've said before, I personally believe, and I know Republicans are starting to talk about it in Congress, and I know Pete Buttigieg just turned it down, probably because it was too much of a heavy lift. But I think it's time to move to a mileage tax. I think we do need money for infrastructure. I think, it's been 20 some odd years since we raised the federal gas tax. So I think it's time for a tax increase, but a small one, but I don't think, because even a penny or two brings in tons of money. The problem is that people in $85,000 Teslas don't have to pay for the roads. And so I've said it's time with hybrids and electric cars, it's time to move to a
All right, so
tax
here would be my
per mile.
question and my view on that. Would you do a mileage tax on top of a gas tax or
No, no, no,
in lieu of
no,
a gas
no,
tax?
no, the gas tax goes away.
Okay.
All fuel taxes go away. And then you get paid the mileage tax is for everything from an 18-wheeler down to a Yugo. I mean, everyone, how many miles you go, that's what you pay. And it's all made
Well,
fair by
you know,
weight.
it's being proposed as in addition to a gas tax, and I would absolutely be
No,
against
no, no, I'm not in favor of that at all. I think it has to replace a gas tax because that's the problem the left has, is that they still want gas taxes, just like TCI, because that's punishment for
Yeah,
bad people like us who drive
part of their
internal
cancel culture
combustion.
thinking, right?
Yeah. So they want to punish us too. So that's why they probably want to have a mileage tax as well as a gasoline tax so that they can keep in place the punishment of bad people like us.
All right, so when it comes to a mileage tax, we are, as conservatives, we don't like too many taxes, but we agree, at least, I'm not speaking for you when I say we.
No.
We agree that there needs to be some taxes on some things in order to run a government, and it's only fair to have usage taxes. Kind of like
Right.
what you're hinting. If you're gonna use the roads, if it's not a toll, then paying a gas tax is okay, and so a mileage tax is a usage fee, which is fair. Only those that use the roads or drive their cars pay it. Those who don't pay it. That's fair. But again, so piling it on top of a gas tax would be punishing. So I assume you agree with the usage fee philosophy.
Right. I see a mileage tax as a user fee. And I think if they don't want it, I think it's common sense because they can do it now. The technology exists now to just ping every car once a month and debit and take the money just like they do with tolls. And what you would do is you would get rid of the gasoline tax, the federal gasoline tax, and the state, by the way, because they could do it all. They could bundle everything.
You could piggyback like the income tax, right?
Yeah, but then you also get rid of tolls. I mean, all the money we're spending on toll. I said this. I wrote a column about this 3 years ago. All of these toll gantries you see going up in Rhode Island are already obsolete technologically. There's no reason for them. Gina Raimondo could still do the same thing if you were pinging. You just ping the trucks, for instance, if that's what Rhode Island decides to do, and it's legal because I know it's being fought. But you can the based on the weight of the truck, the weight of the car, the way, whatever. All these things can be, a guy in a small car might pay a penny a mile. Guy in a big 18-wheeler might be paying 3 cents a mile. I don't know what the number would come out to, but the point is you can adjust all those things. Ping cars, send bills, get the money.
Yep.
You can do all those things.
It does simplify things, doesn't it? It does simplify things.
And then you have there's no need for tolls, and there's no need for gas tax.
Let me ask this. Have you seen an acceptable way to track miles without invading personal privacy? I haven't seen it. I haven't studied it.
But that, I would just say this. That's like standing up in Berlin in May of 1945 and saying, we've still got to fight for the right of the German people. It's like, yeah, the war's over. We've lost that privacy thing. If we haven't learned that in the last 2 years with COVID, the privacy war, in my opinion, is over. We lost.
You know what proved that to me, Tom? You do, is it Google?
Yeah. Every now and then I get a email from Google. Here's where you've been in the last 90 days. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they know where we are. I mean,
us.
anyone who's carrying a phone, they know where you are. And pretty much everyone's carrying a phone.
So you really think that's water under the bridge, huh?
Well, I do. But here's the thing, where they could, if you trust the government, and I don't, and I know we don't, but you don't have to necessarily be followed every step of the way. You just have something in the car that says, it's on April 1st, they ping the car and there's 10,000 miles. On May 1st, they ping the car, there's 11,000 miles. You get charged for 1,000 miles. They don't have to follow you and track you. And you could, I'm sure, create something very easily. It's not tracking you. It's just pinging you and looking for your mileage.
What do you mean ping? Most cars don't have a ping receptor.
It's easy enough. Do you know what I mean? Look at how they're not even building cars now because there's a semiconductor shortage. There are so many bloody semiconductors in cars now that they can do any of that stuff.
All right.
And so my point is,
you think that's the least of our worries.
It's an easy transition. I wish they would do it, but I do believe that the left, it's the right thing to do. I don't think they want to do it because I think they intend to punish us as much as possible.
All right, let's go back to TCI for a second.
Yep. So
here's an article that we were quoted in. We were cited in here. This is something called the Energy News Network. I don't know, but so we passed the climate law, and now the next fight. And again, this is the dishonesty of the left. They think you know what? They are right when they think. They change the terms, they change the names, and they trick people. Now it's a regional cap and invest, not cap and trade. It's cap and invest. What it really means is let's reduce the availability of and drive up the price. But they come up with these names. So this is the TCI, and you can see here a bill is expected to be introduced soon, but its passage is hardly assured. And they cite how our center has been leading the way in raising awareness about this bill. And the article ends, and I want to get your comment on this, Tom, from one of the supporters. We hope, because they point out how groups of ours have rightly positioned this as a new tax on people, on gasoline, on work, on pleasure, on driving, shopping, taking your kids to school, whatever. It's a tax. We hope we can change the narrative from don't tax us more to what could we do with the revenue and how could small businesses benefit? Is there any way small businesses benefit from taxing their energy usage?
No. You have to really be out there to speak a line like that. Where it's just this is the elitism of the left. It's just, don't you rubes, conservative rubes, understand how wonderful and smart we are? That if you simply give us your money, we're going to bring you great, wonderful things because we're so darn smart. Don't you understand that? And we sit here saying, no, we've seen too much in our lives. We know what you're going to do. It's going to go to give people bigger pensions. I mean, it's like, come on, man. You don't, there's the stuff. It's just so tiring after all these years because you're right. You have experience. I have a lifetime experience. I remember the grand lottery ticket for 50 cents and the money was all going to education. It's like, that's how they sell it to you. In this case, they sell it to you as, we want to make an investment. Now, my understanding of the 30 cents a gallon with this one was, it was completely insane. And I spoke to a representative about it, where it's like, well, you're going to give us a big pot of money, and then some of the money is going to come back. And I was like, what are you talking about? So you're going to create a new bureaucracy. I said, this sounds to me like you need to hire 50 people or nephews of state reps or whatever, and put this thing together and then decide how to give the money back. It's like, here's an idea. Don't take it from us in the first place.
Exactly. And exactly. And that's part of the dishonesty here. Oh yeah, because obviously you charge energy, it's going to hurt. It's regressive. It's going to hurt low-income families a lot more. So they come up with this false fake scheme. Well, we'll refund the money to low-income families.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
Who the hell thinks that's going to be efficient, fair, or non-political, right?
Nobody. Nobody. You have to be crazy to think that that's going to work. And it's the type of thing where, back in the old days when the Providence Journal had a a substantial news staff. It's the kind of thing where you'd look at the Providence Journal and say, look, I predict 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to be doing a story about, we just don't understand. How did this go wrong? It's like,
Yeah, right.
I mean, let me count the ways.
Yeah.
And so of course it's going to go wrong. Of course it's going to go bad.
Yep.
And it's all it's going to do is pull money out of people's pockets. And as I said, the rep I was talking to at this time, and I'm not sure if it's been tweaked at all, but it was also, it wasn't about gasoline. It was gasoline, of course, but it was also about heating oil. And as I said to, it was Carlos Tabone, the guy I was talking to, who I like, Carlos, and he represents a certain section of Pawtucket that's a bit lower income. And I said, Carlos, you talk to me as if I can't pitch in. I can pitch. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. I own a business. If I got to pay another 20 or 30 cents a gallon for fuel oil, okay, I can do it. But I said, what about your people? What about the woman on the second floor who's raising three kids alone? She's on the second floor of a 3-decker. You're going to go to her and say, look, you got to pay another $200 every winter because we got to help us save the planet. It's like, are you out of your mind? She's going to look at you like you have 3 heads.
That's right.
And so that's the kind of stuff. It's like, think about the poorest people. How are they supposed to deal with this
highly regressive tax? All right, why not? Well, one more question, then I know you got to go. So speaking of being out of your mind, and I've said this from the beginning, and here we have it. So, folks, this is a driverless electric car that literally exploded. Look, it looks like an atom bomb hit it. There's nothing left of anything, anybody. 2 people in the back seat, apparently. I mean, first of all, you're not crazy to drive an electric car. Well, maybe you are, because those batteries, when they catch fire, they're like hand grenades. And I would never trust any computer system or robot to drive me around at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. I'll tell you that. If I'm going to get in a car crash, it's going to be by my own hand, not some computers. But the real scandal here, Tom, is that the left won't talk about the story. They don't want to. They don't want to diminish the narrative about electric cars. Your thought?
Right. They're completely on board and invested in electric cars. I mean, there's still much to this story that we don't know. I mean, I agree with you. Tesla and others have made it clear that even when they get to the, self-driving, so-called, that, somebody's got to be behind the wheel, keeping an eye on things and doing some minimal work. Apparently, these 2 men were in the back seat. It all just sounds really weird. And then Musk this morning said, I'm not following it this closely. I haven't seen the latest, but I know Musk today tweeted and said the autopilot thing wasn't on. Well, if the autopilot wasn't on, why are these 2 people in the back seat?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the craziest thing. I'll tell you a quick story, though. They'll probably sue and win, because I remember many years ago, there was a writer called John Leo who used to write a weekly column, and he was the first conservative guy put in the Valley Breeze. And he'd have his top 10 at the end of every year of the craziest lawsuits in the country. And a woman had bought an RV and was riding down the highway and put it on cruise control and decided to go make a sandwich.
Yeah.
And of course it went off the road. And she thought cruise control meant it was going to drive itself. And she wanted a sandwich. She was hungry. So, but here's the thing. She sued and she won. So, and
like
now
people who fall off ladders and sue and win. Yeah.
And now RVs come with all these warnings about, no, the thing doesn't actually drive itself. But yeah, I don't know what to make of stories like that, because I don't understand why 2 men were in the back seat going 50, 60 miles an hour. There's more to this story that maybe we'll hear about. But to your point, yeah, the left does not.
They're certainly covering it up, though, regardless of what the story is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other part
I know you have to go and get fitted for your tux.
I have to go get fitted.
For the big wedding Sunday. Congratulations again. I can't let you be late for that. You said you had a 4:30 stop.
I do.
4:31. I've already apologized to your daughter for me.
No worries at all. Thank you very much.
Godspeed with your wedding, Tom.
Take care.
Tom Ward, former publisher, owner of the Valley Breeze, one of Rhode Island's great journalists. So here we are. I mean, if you've been following in the comments section, I haven't seen this on the news because I'm on the show, but apparently the verdict in the Chauvin trial is already in. And is Larry the Liberty Guy, they saying it's going to be announced later today?
Yeah, so sometime between 4:30, well, we're slightly past 4:30 now, and 5 o'clock is the time that it's supposed to be announced. Now, like anything else, that could be delayed, but I've been told the National Guard is moving in many cities across the country in preparation. This was awful fast.
All right, so I've got the TV on up here, and we will, when you see the judge come in, we'll, I guess, give live updates. So if anybody's watching, stay with the show. So we'll update you. There'll be plenty of talk about it all over the news stations tonight. I just hope there's nothing else to report on other than the verdict. I hope we can safely weather what other storm is coming. All right, I see a note here from Republican RJL. Ask Tom if only hybrids, or well, if hybrids should be mileage tax at a lower rate. No, I would say no, because that would defeat the purpose. It's not about using gas. It's about using the roads. So electric car uses the roads just like a gas car. So it's not about a usage fee on gasoline. It's a usage fee on the roads. It's a usage fee on driving. So it's a little different philosophy. So whether it's a truck, maybe you would tax trucks at a different rate than you would a car. Maybe it's the weight of the car. And so maybe a hybrid, if it weighs less, if the battery weighs less than a normal fuel combustion engine, maybe, I don't know. There'd have to be obviously different size vehicles might have, just like they have to pay more, just like you have to pay more for gas if you drive a bigger truck or vehicle. You might have to pay more per mile if you drive a bigger vehicle. So it seems fair. So I would guess that a fair system, and again, I haven't studied this. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but it's not a usage fee on gasoline. It's a usage fee on the roads. And that's fair. Again, we believe in usage fees, whether it's a bridge toll, it's your option, right? You can either go over the bridge and pay the toll, or you can go around and not pay a toll. Some cities have tried toll only lanes. Hey, if you want to sit in traffic or risk the heavier traffic on the regular free interstates or roads, you can do that. If you're in a hurry and you want to guarantee you get through, you can pay a toll and go fast. So again, it's all about options, giving people choices. And so we agree in general with usage fees. We have to generate taxes in some regard, limited ways, limited government taxes. And I think, gasoline or transportation or mileage is one reasonable way, as long as we don't pile one on top of the other. All right, back to this crash with the Tesla car. Again, as Tom Ward said, we're not sure what happened there, but they couldn't put the fire out. According to the article I read, it took, and I'm checking over my shoulder at the national news on the Chauvin trial. Apparently, it took 10,000 gallons of water to stop the fire, because these batteries, once they ignite, they not only do they go off like a hand grenade, but they just keep burning. I don't know if water makes it worse or not. But, there's some serious issues here. We remember how, just compare it. So here we have one Tesla that exploded, literally exploded. Remember, Larry the Liberty Guy, you're way too young, but remember 40, 50 years ago when that, was it Ford Fiesta? Somebody rammed it from behind and the gasoline tank was weak and exploded. And all of a sudden there was a recall, and all of a sudden no more Ford Fiestas or whatever the hell the model was shut down, and all the consumer advocates and we're up in, well, nobody's up in arms now because this is a Green New Deal car, and we have to pretend that everything's fine with these Green New Deal cars. This is the joke this is the depravity of today's left and their accomplices in the media, that it's okay for people to die in fiery crashes. It's okay to put other people at risk of the same fate, but we can't do anything to slow down the green electric vehicle agenda. See, this is the depravity of nothing else matters to them. and it's Earth Day, and it's appropriate to talk about this stuff today. Their agenda, they believe, must move forward no matter the cost to the economy, no matter the cost to small businesses, no matter the cost to families. As Tom Ward mentioned, no matter the cost to poor families. We must punish people for using traditional fuels. We must, no matter what the cost, no matter what the consequences, and we must encourage people to use green fuels, no matter the risks, no matter if you might die, no matter if it's going to harm your budget, no matter if it's going to harm the state economy. That, my friends, is depravity. I'm sorry, there's nothing else to say. This is depravity. And this is what's wrong with the left. It is win, win, win with the Marxist, socialist, green, liberal, whatever you want to call it, agenda at any cost, at every cost. I mean, we even see the same thing with the COVID and the restrictions. The liberal agenda is now distance, shutdown, masks, vaccines, mandatory tests. We had those parents on a few weeks ago. No matter if there's scientific evidence to support it, no matter like the studies that just came out recently that show not only do masks not prevent the spread of COVID, but they actually cause harm because you're not getting enough good oxygen, you're breathing in bad air. It actually causes harm. But who cares? The agenda, the narrative is what's important. This is depravity, folks. This is this crucifixion of the truth. I've talked about this a few times. It's going to be the topic of my column in the Rhode Island Wave. As some of you know, the Rhode Island Echo is on hold because their owner died. So there's a new publication, the Rhode Island Wave. You'll see it for free, a free paper in stores coming out next month. But my article in there talks about the crucifixion of the truth. And this climate stuff, and is one of the places where truth is crucified. The truth of, even in the Chauvin trial. Again, I wasn't there. I didn't hear all the evidence. I'm not making a judgment. But we know that part of the truth was this visually repulsive action by the police officer. But yet, the truth is, the book says to do that. That's how you restrict somebody who's high on drugs, prevent them from moving around and expending more energy and oxygen than they can when they might be having some kind of overdose. And apparently was having an overdose, and apparently he did die. Partially from the overdose, partially from the knee. How the jury sees it, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not making a judgment. But there are truths. When you have a trial, when you have hearings, usually some truths come out. Whether people care about it or not, I don't know. What Biden said today, was it today? What Biden said today was outrageous. Now, he commented, basically, I think he said something to the effect he prayed that there's only one proper outcome for this, and obviously that's a guilty verdict. I mean, you didn't have to say that. Now, I don't think anything he said would have made a difference to a sequestered jury, but what he said could certainly, you talk about dog whistles, they always talk about dog whistles by Donald Trump. Well, that certainly could be categorized as a dog whistle by Joe Biden to say, hey, if we don't get the right verdict, go ahead, riot again, kill people again, destroy property again, shut down a city again. That was an outrageous thing for Biden to say, in my view. Not jury tampering like a lot of people claim. The jury was sequestered. And now they have a verdict today. I'm sure they didn't see it today. I'm sure they were deliberating today when he said that late morning. But it certainly will be interpreted, if it wasn't meant to be, as a message to potential protesters turned rioters. We will see. That's right, Louise. It was the Ford Pinto with the gas tank that exploded. And that quickly was the end of the Ford Pinto, if I recall, right? No more Ford Pintos. Oh, yeah, Republican Roland had that too. I I don't think this is going to be the end of electric Teslas or electric cars. Do you? I don't think so. So take a look. Take a look at this. I'm gonna say this more in fun, but I kind of think it's true. Do you remember? If you were a Rush Limbaugh follower like I was, I used to listen to Rush whenever I could. Especially love listening to Rush when we go on road trips, and that was always fun. You know, trying to adjust the dial to get the exact to get the frequency that could come in the best, and then you'd only get it for 30 miles, and you had to go find another frequency. But he was on so many places, AM and FM, you could find it. But one of his early claims that drove the left crazy is that liberalism is a disease of the mind. And we've commented Never Land stuff, make believe, even today, the crucifixion of the truth. Well, look at this. A study here actually shows that liberals are more likely to have mental health problems. What do you think of that? I think it's kind of funny. Rush was right again. He was right again. And again, I don't want to play too much on the mental health part of it. But I've always been curious as I watch TV. Boy, look at all these people just poised to respond somehow. This is scary out there, I'll tell you. I've always wondered why liberals were so gullible to every fear that comes on the road. We just talked about climate change. I mean, a lot of people literally believe that they and their families won't live, that their kids won't live to be adults because one way or another, climate change is going to flood them, incinerate them, choke them to death or something. They literally believe that. And it's the same people that believe if I don't wear a mask, or if you don't wear a mask, or we get together in a group that I'm going to die. And in addition to that study we just showed you, a poll shows by economist YouGov, I'm reading here, that this mask mania that Fauci recommends, that mask mandate, even the is trusted by 85% of Biden voters and only 14% of Trump voters. Now, maybe it's the Trump voters who are mentally ill. I don't know. Maybe it's the Biden voters. But there is some psychological, it's not political. There is clearly, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a disease. And again, I'm not a psychologist. But there is something fundamentally different in the way that Republicans or conservatives and liberals, let's say it that way, conservatives and liberals and socialists think. There's clearly something different here. I don't know how to put my finger on it. If you want to go ahead and offer something in the comments, go right ahead and we'll talk about it. But these studies are starting to come out. They're documenting these wildly different views that Americans have, depending if they're a liberal or a conservative on issues. And it's not political issues. We're just talking about social issues, just everyday issues, not necessarily policy issues. And now this study about liberals more likely to have mental health problems. I mean, it's really kind of funny, I think. I don't know. So I don't know. I think it's funny to think about. I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm not giving you any conclusions. I've just noticed this vast difference between my thinking and our friends on the left thinking. And I'm wondering what you think of it. Larry Liberty guy saying it's cultural Marxism. It's replaced religion. So on the left, yeah. So this belief in the agenda, right? The belief in the narrative and the agenda, just like climate change has become the religion. I mean, you see people wearing masks, right? It has become a religion. They're so proud to wear a mask and show that they're socially responsible, even though it might be killing them. There's something going on there. Okay. So while we await the Chauvin verdict, which hopefully will come after my show's over so I can watch it and you can go watch it. So stay with us. It's not out there yet, so stay with us. We'll let you know, and then we understand if you want to break away. We only got about 10 or so minutes left here. But a couple of things I wanted to cover with you. All right, take a look at this. So this is from Sunday's Go Local Prov paper. And it's what we've been talking about for 8 months on this show. And we're the only people talking about it. And this is the first time I've seen this article. Rhode Island is losing on both fronts. We're losing with in terms of, we set our goal, which was the wrong goal, but still we set the goal to reduce the spread of the virus. That's the wrong goal. The right goal was what we originally said, flatten the curve to allow the medical system to handle whatever is going to handle. It never should have been stopping the spread, but Governor Raimondo, and it seems like Governor McKee, going along with it, have made it the goal that, along with the Department of Health, to stop the spread, which you can't do. There are treatments, there's everything. Not only have we not stopped the spread, and it'd be one thing to say, well, we stopped the spread and, too bad, but we have, suffering economically as well. Or it'd be another thing to say, well, we've got a lot of spread, but at least the economy is going well. We're losing on both counts. We're at the bottom of the country on both counts. Not only have we not stopped the spread, and we're among the worst states when it comes to that. And in the end, that's not a big deal. But again, that was the goal. That's what they tried to do. But we're also losing on the economic front. And it's this attitude, this government by political correctness. And I'll tell you what else it is. It's this picture. So this was a good funny. I love my funnies. So here's a little funny. Two scientists, not so much looking at the COVID virus, but they're looking at government and tyranny. It's no longer tyranny of the government. It's tyranny by these inconsistent scientists. The science has been so wrong, has been so inconsistent throughout this whole thing. But yet guys like Fauci and others, like they're a god. We were talking before, the left doesn't believe in God so much anymore, but they believe in their Marxian figures like Fauci, like AOC. I'm not sure they believe in Biden. I don't think so. Like Bernie, certainly Bernie fans do. In fact, on that first study, first photo I showed you a minute ago, here it is again on the Newsmax article about mental health problems. There's your Bernie supporters. But for some reason, the left loves to be ruled by these charlatans who represent these Marxist ideas, whether they apply them to public policy or whether they apply them to public health, or whether they apply them to other social issues. All right, still no judge or jury yet coming in on the trial. So stay with us just a little bit longer. A couple other quick notes, and then we'll close a little bit early so you can all get to the trial. Did you see that in Alabama, the union, the private sector union, I'm not sure what, it probably, I don't know, it was SCA Teamsters, I don't know who it was, tried to, had a vote, had a corporate, whatever they call it, corporate program. They tried to unionize an Amazon plant in Alabama, and the union literally got clobbered. It was like 74% to 26% or something like that, 29%. Union got 29%. That's getting clobbered. So again, these myths, but yet you see in one of the big bills in Congress, because people are choosing not to join unions because people don't want to pay the hefty fees. They don't like the way their dues money are being spent to advance a liberal left single party agenda. People are less and less choosing to opt in to unions. But you had a federal bill that's out there would almost compel people in any place a union wanted to be a member. It would do away with right to work. Remember, right to work allows private sector employees, if you're in a right to work state, Rhode Island is not, but if you're in a right to work state, if you're a private sector employee and you choose not to join the union, you can't be fired or disciplined or lose advancement opportunities or pay raises or anything like that. That's what right to work is. It's the right to choose whether you want to be in a union or not and not suffer any consequences regardless of what choice you make. Because of the Janus decision, almost was it 3 years ago now, coming up in June, right to work exists for all government employees, federal and local, for government employees. They now have the right to choose whether or not they want to be part of a union, and they can't suffer adverse work consequences regardless of what that choice is. So all government workers across the country have right to work. And I think 27 or 30 states, again, Rhode Island is not one of them, have right to work also in the private sector. But there's a bill in Congress that would eliminate right to work, eliminate it in the private sector. So those 30 states that have right to work would be out, and everybody, pretty much every worker, if a union wants to unionize, it's going to be rigged so much that it's almost a certainty that they will unionize and you would have to join it. That is not freedom, folks. That is not choice. And that is not America. Like any other business, unions, especially in the private sector, I don't believe in government unions. But in the private sector, I'm okay with unions. I was a member of a union in the baseball, right? I was a member of the Major League Baseball Players Association. And unions should earn their keep. If they can put together a price structure and benefits that make it attractive for people to join, then people should have the option to join if the workers vote to unionize. And if they don't put together a good enough plan to earn your trust, to earn your vote, to earn your confidence on how they're going to spend their money, then you shouldn't have to join. Again, it's about freedom to market, freedom to choose, freedom to join or not, freedom to pay dues or not. That's how America should work. Just like vaccines, Americans should be given the information. We should be given the damn truth about this J&J vaccine. That shouldn't have been buried like our health director buried it last week. Like, thank God, as Dr. Boston said, the CDC was smart enough to say, wait a minute, we got to put the brakes on. Inform us, help us make informed decisions. Don't tell us what we have to do and not tell us why. Well, don't tell us what to do anyway. But just give us the data and let us make the choice. Leave us the hell alone if we don't do what you want us to do. It's our life, not yours. Please. All right, listen, we're gonna sign off early because I know everyone wants to get and see. I mean, I'm not so interested in the verdict as I'm interested in what's going to be the aftermath of the verdict. I would encourage you to go to our website, rifreedom.org, and right at the top, you'll see the link to the open letter that our coalition. Oh, I do want to show you who our coalition partners were. I want to thank them for joining with us. So let me share our screen. This was an open letter to Dan McKee saying, please withdraw Rhode Island from the TCI memorandum of understanding that Governor Raimondo put us into. It's a 2-page letter. You can find it right on the top of our website. All the links are there. Again, the main point is this: we all want a clean environment, but TCI is going to do nothing to help the environment. It's just going to impose costs, $1,200 a year on the average family. It's going to do nothing to help the environment. It's just a ruse. It's just more of the false narrative. So this author was co-authored by our center, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the state director in Rhode Island, a couple of federal groups, national groups signed on: Americans for Prosperity, Americans for Tax Reform, Bristol County Concerned Citizens, Little Compton Taxpayers Association, the Gaspee Business Network, Tiverton Taxpayers Association, Portsmouth Concerned Citizens, a couple of Massachusetts groups that have a little influence in Rhode Island, and the Gaspee Project. So thank you to all our coalition partners for that. And go to our website, rifreedom.org, and right at the top, you'll have a link to this post where you can see our media release here. You can click on the petition to say no TCI gas tax for me. Thank you. I don't want an extra 40, 50 cents a gallon I have to pay. And you can read the full coalition letter right here. So tomorrow, big show, 2 big guests. We have Chad Callanan, former state Senate candidate, about what he calculated the cost could be for actual reps and senators and for probably you because of this act on climate that was signed a couple weeks ago. And then at 4:30, Stanley Kurtz from National Review, well-known national figure, is going to comment on the side of the civics legislation that passed the House, but where he thinks has a poison pill in it. I'm curious to hear what he's got to say. You should be curious to hear what he's got to say. So tune in tomorrow and then in the dugout, and we will see you